What's up guys, Taylor here with BoogeyLights. Today we have a brand new 2023 52-foot horse trailer. It's a 4-horse trailer made by Bloomer Trailers, and it's finished with outlaw conversions inside. Very cool. We put about 115 LEDs on this whole thing. The entire front half here before that first axle is outfitted with our RGBA strips. So it's got the multicolor, the RGB, as well as a single diode in there for amber. So that way he can be running down the road and just have amber on for this front half. And then if you look back there behind that rear axle, he's got a red, green, blue strip for the multicolor, and he's also got a red strip. So he can run amber up front and red in the rear. Now he had a little bit of a special request. He wanted it split into 2 zones. So we have zone 1 over here on the passenger side. You can see I have complete control of zone 1. And then if I click the zone 2 button, I'm now controlling everything over here on the passenger side. So say for instance, you are in close quarters somewhere and you wanted to completely shut off that driver's side and leave on just your passenger side, you can certainly do that. We put a 25 amp toggle switch in right here. So that way, if you are going down the road and you want to shut off that underglow, you can now flip that switch and get the amber all up front and the red back there in the rear, which we'll show you here very soon. Now, another thing we thought of is you don't always want to have to get out of the truck to flip this little switch. So we also put in just a single on and off switch. So if he's in his truck, he can just press this button here and it'll bring on everything else that's going to come on with his running lights. So he can control those running lights from inside the truck. He can now use this little handheld key fob here to turn them on and off as he's driving. Next, if we take a look at the brains of the operation in here, you'll see that we have our dual zone controller module up there in the right corner. You can see zone 2 coming out of the bottom down here, zone 1 up there at the top. So he's got about 40 amps of power there for that controller, 20 amps per zone. And with this 100 and so feet, he's pulling about 20 amps right now. You can see in the middle here, we got 2 relays as well as our on-off controller. So one of those relays powers that on-off controller, the other relay powers his switch out here. If we want to go down underneath, we can show you a little bit more about how these zones are actually split up. Now that we are in the Boogey pit, you can kind of get a better idea of where we put all these strips. You can see on the sides here, we used a 90-degree 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 inch plastic that mounts right there on the frame. The reason we did that and not on the bottom of that frame is because the frame is actually lower than the outside of the trailer. So if you stuck it to the bottom of that frame, say you're 10, 15 feet away from this thing, you would see those LEDs. So by putting them just up on the inside of that frame, it still hides the glow, but doesn't give us a sharp shadow, allows that light to really bleed far out. You can also see from down here the 2 different zones. So right now I'm operating everything in a single zone setting, so everything changes together. But say I wanted to control that zone 1 side, if I click zone 1, you can see how everything's evenly split down the middle here. And then if I click that zone 2 button, I'm now controlling the other side as well. So that gives you the ability, as I said earlier, to shut that side off, leave just your driver's side or your passenger side on. While we're down here as well, you can get a better look at the amber. So if I go ahead and shut off the main controller, I can click that on-off controller there, show all of our amber. This thing took us about 14 hours to complete, and as I said, it's about 115 feet of LEDs. There's 75 feet of LEDs just before the axle here, and about 40 feet of LEDs behind the rear. So you can see all of our wiring there is wrapped in split loom to keep it nice and protected for hopefully for many years to come. Next, we'll take a look at the rear, and we'll put on that brake tail turn aspect so you guys can get a better look at that. Now, as I was saying, this is tied into his brake tail and turn here. So now, if we hit his left signal on the truck, you'll see that whole bottom left there light up. And if we hit the right signal, you'll see the right side light up there. So he's got 3 strips on each side down there. 3 for the right, 3 for the left. And now if he hits his brakes, you'll see everything light up. So right now I have the amber and the red off, but even if I have the amber and red on, you can still see when he hits his brakes that the underglow lights up enough there. So we actually have 1 diode tied into his running, and then we have 2 of those 3 diodes wired into his turn signals and brakes. So when he hits his hazards now, you'll see everything start to flash. So hopefully when you're going down the road, not being seen will not be an issue. And that is about it. Thank you for watching, guys. This was all done here in Florence, Kentucky at BoogeyLights. Give us a call and get lit up today.